Transfer portal on fire, no sign of it slowing down. Let's dive right into it. We're sitting here on Sunday night. Things have changed even in the past couple of hours, so who knows what changes by the time we get off the air. Caleb Williams, this is the big name out there, the obviously five-star quarterback transfer from Oklahoma. What is the very, very latest? Well, obviously, the crystal ball still leans, I believe, 100% towards USC. If I'm putting one in, I'm leaning USC. Here's the million-dollar question on everyone's mind. Okay, well, if it's so clear-cut, then why hasn't he committed yet? Look, I haven't talked to him today, so I don't know. Here's what I find fun about this. It has been my observation in the history of recruiting and a short history of the transfer portal that most of the time, when a bunch of reputable people are saying that something is close to done, usually that's the way it works out. But there's also this other phenomenon that happens sometimes, and that is in the absence of real tangible information, one or two little tidbits are run with by everyone, and it creates this false consensus in the market, and the reality is things are a lot more open than they appear. This is a complete guess on my part, because I'm not suggesting that's the case. What I am suggesting is it's very interesting if you got to really put your ear to the ground on this. But if you really put your ear to the ground, there are other programs out there that have thought in varying points of this they have a shot. The most fascinating to me is Wisconsin. Like, there are people who would tell you, they wouldn't go as far as to say they think Wisconsin will land Caleb Williams. They would not tell you that. I've not found a single person to tell me that. But they would say there's a lot of mutual interest. The family and Caleb Williams have respect for Paul Chryst. So who knows? I still fully expect this to be a USC thing. Mario Williams, the big wide receiver from Oklahoma, who a lot of people believe is a package deal here, he has committed to USC. I think he did it Saturday, so I think he did it yesterday, either yesterday or Friday. So remains to be seen there. Again, this could change by the time we go off the air. Jackson Dart is one we've been following very, very close today. Jackson Dart is leaving USC, and he's been visiting, Oklahoma, and most recently today, Ole Miss. Where's he going to end up? Well, I don't know that there's smart money on this right now. There is confidence in Norman. Keep in mind they already got Dylan Gabriel, though, who, let's make sure we get this right, transferred to Oklahoma by way of UCLA, where he had briefly made a pit stop after transferring out of UCF. Welcome to the transfer portal era. So for the moment, Dylan Gabriel is a quarterback at Oklahoma. But look, Jackson Dart could land there, but that's not where he is today. He was in Norman earlier this week. Today he's in Oxford, Mississippi. I'm scrolling through Twitter earlier today, and I say, Jesse, I think we need to put this in the show. If you're listening on podcast, let me describe what we're looking at. We're looking at a multi-million-dollar home in the background. It snowed in Oxford today, just like it did in a lot of places in the southeast. And we have a vehicle there. I can't make out the logo on the back. I don't think it is used, though. I think Lane Kiffin probably bought that new. And it is Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin out in the snow. You can't immediately tell which one is which, by the way. And there they are. They're posing. And a lot of people have drawn confidence from this photo in Oxford, Mississippi. I would too. I think this is the better fit. It just feels like the better fit for him. Feels more natural. You've got one big-time, big-performing quarterback walking out the door. You could have one walk straight in the door. So I expect a decision here pretty shortly, obviously. You got Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Those feel like the two front runners. Meanwhile, to keep it in this portion of the country, Sam Pittman, oh my. So Arkansas is really, really up in their game when it comes to recruiting and the transfer portal. But today they took probably one of the biggest steps we've seen so far. Sam Pittman is Pate State material. We have long since established that, but they proved it again today. Drew Sanders, former five-star guy who committed to Alabama, played at Alabama this past year, probably could have played at a high level at tight end as well. He was a defensive end for him. He entered the portal. He got hurt. Dallas Turner emerged. It just didn't look like he was going to have an established starting role for Alabama. Well, he absolutely could have one of those for pretty much anyone else in the country. Texas was involved here. You heard some whispers about Oklahoma. Nope. It is Sam Pittman and the University of Arkansas that get Drew Sanders. They already got Jaden Hazelwood, a high-level receiver out of Oklahoma. And so now again, you're seeing Sam Pittman make moves in the transfer portal that sound a lot like the moves that the big boys like Alabama make, where it's a lot more like you're just hand-picking. You're kind of cherry-picking. Now, the difference is you also have a traditional high school recruiting apparatus that is still rounding into form for Arkansas under Sam Pittman. Think about where they are relative to where you thought they were coming into this past year. If you're just a generic, Nebraska fan or Oregon State fan and you're just watching Arkansas from afar, there's no way you thought they were going to make a bowl game. There's certainly no way you thought they were going to make any discernible noise on the recruiting trail, and yet there they were, 9-4, with an Outback Bowl victory on New Year's Day, playing in a lot warmer climate than your team probably played in, chances are, nationally. And not only that, that 9-4 record was compiled as they played both participants in the national championship game. That 9-4 is good for about a one-loss playoff berth in some other conferences. Arkansas is really good this year, and it's kind of only a tip of the iceberg thing relative to what many people around that program think they could become. And the reason is because you cannot quantify culture. So many people out there have systems, ourselves included. We want a way to quantify everything. We got star rankings on recruits. We got projected scores on games. You cannot quantify culture. That's why robots will never run the game. Humans run the game. Because humans have heart and soul inside themselves, but they also have DNA. And in a very real sense, you cut Sam Pittman open, Arkansas is what comes out of him. I don't know how to quantify that. I cannot tell you how much that sort of thing matters as it relates to where a guy like Jaden Hazelwood or Drew Sanders are going to choose to go via the transfer portal. But I can tell you it does matter. And I can tell you a lot of people, in fact, everyone up there is on board with it. It's really funny that some people nationally who claim to really follow this sport at a granular, sort of in the weeds level, I still don't think a lot of people get what's going on at Arkansas right now, which is fine. We do on this show, so I want everyone in Arkansas to know we do. But that was a big move. We'll see what else Arkansas does in the portal. Jaleel Billingsley was another big name out of Alabama that we've been following. Had a bad performance in the national championship game. It was the least shocking headline ever to read that he was leaving Alabama shortly after that national championship game. He has landed at Texas. So this is what we expected the other day. I'm very interested to see how this pans out because there's a school of thought that he was a better fit under Sark. Sark is obviously the head coach of Texas now. So Jaleel Billingsley, you definitely want to hit the fresh start, restart button, and you get him out there and, perhaps he performs more as a jumbo wide receiver than a traditional tight end. Not that he was a traditional tight end at Alabama. But Jaleel Billingsley at Texas now is another part, just one more cog in the wheel of an incredible overnight reshaping of a program that's going on in Austin. Also, Jalen Moody, linebacker from Alabama, was in Austin. I think he's got an Arizona visit coming up. But these are two more guys that could be coming out of Tuscaloosa that could very well land in Austin. One already has. Jaleel Billingsley made that official today. Keep in mind they got Ben Davis last year from Alabama. They got Keelan Robinson from Alabama. And I don't think it's the worst strategy in the world when you're trying to overturn a program to take as many kids who couldn't quite cut it at Alabama as necessary because they are very good players. Billingsley played at Bama. Jalen Moody has played at Bama. Keelan Robinson, had he not transferred, would have absolutely been a key role at Alabama this year. Also, Javon Baker, one more guy leaving Alabama. Surprise visit to Florida this weekend. Now, the semester, as I understand it, has already started at Florida, but there are special exceptions that can be made, which is the only way a university should be run when it comes to football. There are exceptions that can be made where if Javon Baker decides Florida is the place for him, he can pull the trigger, they can get him in classes down there. Now, that has to happen pretty quickly, so keep an eye on this. Javon Baker, I stood probably on the field for a good 5 to 10 minutes and watched him and a couple of other Bama receivers warm up. He looks good, man. If you're playing at Bama, you look good. He was a step slow in relation to a lot of the guys they've had come through there. Doesn't mean he's slow. I said he was a step slow relative to guys like Jalen Waddle who have come through there. So there aren't many of those on planet Earth. Javon Baker's going to be a good player for whoever picks him up. One other name, as we move on here, that is not in the transfer portal, but there's a lot of noise about, and that's Darnell Washington, big 6'7", 270-pound tight end, or as you might know him in generations past, an offensive tackle. But he's at Georgia. Here's what I can tell you. He came home from Indianapolis when they won the national championship game. He was in class as of last Wednesday. He is still enrolled at the University of Georgia. There are people who believe that it is imminent that he will enter the transfer portal. I know he erased his Georgia insignia off of his social media channels. Look, I've been in contact with some people around the program today. All you can talk about is what is real here and now. And what's real here and now is, at least as we started the show tonight, he's not in the portal yet. Could that change before the night's over? Yeah, it sure could. If it did, there are a lot of people on the West Coast at USC who think they would have a good shot there, and that's about all we know so far. That's pretty much why we have to do a transfer portal segment every single show.